to, bite at everybody. What is inflation?
Well, it's just a basic phenomena. It's not something so strange.
Okay.
When we are talking about inflation, we are just looking at the general increase in prices of goods and services
Okay.
within an economy. It's expected that prices would not be stable forever, but usually the concern is about the rate at which the prices increase.
Okay.
That's why the concern lies. So it's not something that you would have a perception or a thinking towards it that price will stay at a certain point for like 1 year, 2 year or something. It won't happen and you will not see it over your lifetime.
Okay.
But what is expected is that prices will increase, but they should increase as just small margins.
Oh, okay.
The fundamental issue here is that producers of goods and services must always be motivated to produce. That's the reason why no country yearns for, zero inflation. Some level of inflation, 5%, and all that. We say single-digit inflation is good. Let it be low, because if you are producing and your price seems to stay at one place forever, it's not going to motivate you. So, it will increase, but it should just increase at some small.
In other words, inflation is good.
Well, a little bit of it is good.
Okay.
A little bit of it is good.
And how does it affect investments?
Well, so usually the expectation is this, that people, when you have cash,
Okay.
you have money, the expectation is that the money should be able to buy you some level of commodity.
Okay.
It should be able to buy you some assets. It should be able to buy you some bond. It should be able to buy you some stock. Now, if inflation tends to surge up, inflation tends to rise, your money loses that purchasing power. For example, if I go to the market and I can buy 10 or 15 boxes of tomatoes for 200 cedis.
Okay.
And inflation caused the price of the 15 boxes of tomatoes to rise. If I go to the market again with that same 200 cedis, I may end up getting maybe 12 boxes. So on the basis of that, the quantity of goods that you get would not be the same. So it erodes the purchasing power. It means the quantity of goods and services that you can buy using that same money would not be the same.
Okay.
And the reality of it is that consumers are not concerned about absolute, a nominal income.
Okay.
So if you tell me I have 1,000 cedis, to the consumer, 1,000 cedis doesn't mean anything. The consumer is more concerned about what the 1,000 cedis can buy, what really it can purchase. So if I have 1,000 cedis and I can buy only sachet of water with it, it's not meaningful to me.
Okay.
And if I have 1 cedi and I can buy sachet of water with it, it's meaningful to me compared to me buying water with 1,000 cedis. So consumers are always looking at how much commodity their money can buy. Now, if inflation is high, it tends to affect investment, because when you want to borrow, and the environment is such that businesses don't have, absolute capital that they are working with. They have a lot of cash.
There's always pressure on their money.
Yes, there's always pressure on their money. They have to borrow to be able to buy equipment, invest, and also get, they get returns. So when they borrow, they invest, they sell their products, they get revenue, they take their taxes and other things from it, they get profit. Out of the profit, then they come and pay back the money that they borrowed.
Okay.
And they pay those monies with some interest. So if inflation is high, since inflation is going to decrease my purchasing power, So I cannot, the same 2,000 cedis I loan to Kwame, today, when I give Kwame 2,000 cedis, and Kwame returns it in 2 months' time, what I can use the 2,000 cedis to buy today, prices will change because of inflation. So I will not get the same quantity. It means I must impose a certain interest rate on the money that if Kwame pays me back, he may pay me 2,004. But that 2,004 he's paying me can buy the same quantity of goods I would have bought today. So if inflation is going high, you will see that those who have the money in the economy to lend, to give out, to borrow to people would eventually increase their interest rates.
Okay.
Because they don't want their income to be eroded by the inflation. So inflation is going up. Interest rate will also be doing what? Would be going up.
Okay.
And when interest rate is going up, now investors can borrow. Even if they borrow, they'll borrow small and invest only small because they are afraid if you don't get the profit from your business to service the loan, then you are also in trouble. So inflation affects investment a lot. That's the reason why people say we need moderate inflation, something very small. I mean, it should just be marginal so that it won't create problem for us.
Interesting. So this inflation protector deductions, what are they?
So basically, they tend to look at a way to shade yourself against inflation.
Okay.
So sometimes people go into buying assets and things that are tied to inflation phenomena, so that even if inflation surge up, they are covered. It's just more like a security, like the way you do certain insurance to protect your car or vehicle or what assets you got. So it's along that same line, that same thought and principle.
Oh, okay. Interesting. What are the ways in which a government, if I could, so whose actions accounts for inflation hiking up more than necessary and all that? Now that we've agreed that there is a certain base or a certain minimum inflation that is good, whose actions or inactions accounts for inflation hikes and all that?
Well, the major burden of
managing inflation lies on who?
It lies on the central bank.
Okay.
It lies on Bank of Ghana to be able to manage inflation.
Please explain. How is the Bank of Ghana responsible for managing?
That is one of their major obligations.
Okay.
The reason being that despite there are small factors, small things that also cause inflation to surge up, it has always been argued, not only, fundamentally, empirical research, everything shows that inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon.
Okay.
So when there is excess money in the economy, it tends to cause inflation. I usually cite example using a wache seller who has some few quantity of wache in a bowl, and he sees more people in the queue. He'll do small. You may choose to buy 20 cedis. Some will choose to buy 30 cedis. The quantity would eventually be relatively the same. So when there is excess money in the economy, people tend to buy rough.
Okay.
So imagine a situation where, everybody gets this morning, everybody just stay in their house, and then 5,000 cedis hits everybody's account. People start bathing, going to Medina Market, they'll buy items. The shop owner to say, why is that today their business is coming like people are queuing, they want to buy iPhone, they want to buy Samsung, they want to buy this. He'll start increasing the prices because the demand for the commodity outweighs the quantity of the commodity he's having.
Okay.
So usually we say more money change fewer goods. And if the goods are few in the economy and there is so much money in the hands of, consumers, they will make that demand and the prices will shoot up. Now, who is responsible for managing the quantity of money that would be in the economy?
Okay.
The central bank is responsible for printing notes, ejecting them into the economy, and all that. So they are majorly responsible for, printing of currency, managing the currency within the economy. So that burden of trying to manage the quantity of currency in the economy as against the quantity of goods in the economy is their job.
So it is not those on the fiscal side, it's those on the monetary side.
We'll come there partially. We'll come there partially.
No problem. Let's go on.
So the central bank has that obligation to be able to manage, knows the quantity of currency we have against the goods and services we have in there to prevent inflation. They are able to do this through various means.
Okay.
One of it is that if the central bank identifies that there is so much money in the economy and that is leading people to buy more of goods and services, it's causing inflation. You hear them say they've gone to increase the monetary policy rates and all those kind of things. Usually people are attracted towards high interest rates. So if interest rates goes up a little bit, people who have money will want to invest with the hope of attracting more interest rates.
Earning more interest.
Earning more interest.
Okay.
And then the central bank use those tools to mop up all the excess cash in the economy up to a level where things will normalize.
Okay.
So they have that tool open to them. There are several.
On the flip side, higher interest rate also, aside making savings attractive, which then makes that people bring their money in, and so the central bank mops up the liquidity. Doesn't it also then make borrowing less attractive?
Yes.
Okay.
That is the difficulty. That's the reason why I always say that economics is like trying to change a madman and with the hope that you can take his right measurement when he is very crazy and running. You see, once you hold here, it's another place will lose.
Okay.
Good. So always you try to streamline it for it to be a partial win-win for everybody.
Okay.
So sometimes inflation is the devil. And at the end of the day, that monster, we want to, reduce the monster's effect.
Okay.
Sometimes if there is a monster in your community causing problem or another, people try to go very far away and settle in another place where the monster may not. It means you can't completely erode the monster away.
Okay.
So those are some of the things. When interest rate goes up, the business environment is also affected. Then they tend to complain.
Yeah, because borrowing becomes more expensive.
It becomes more expensive to borrow, to invest, to run your business, and all those kind of things.
Okay.
So the argument has always been, central bank, if things normalize, make sure that the quantity of currency, hard cash you print and inject into the economy is done reasonably so that it doesn't lead to inflation for us to then come and say we want to manage.
Okay.
So target the quantity of money you print into the economy and all that, and check if the economy can support it. Looking at productivity, the goods on the market and everything. Can the economy support this money that you are injecting into the economy? If you take the central bank's own reports in 2022, 2023, they admitted that despite, we have the whole idea of imported inflation from other countries because we are import dependent, where we import a lot
Yeah.
of things. And if inflation is high in those countries and you buy commodities from there, it means you buy it at a relatively high price.
Yep.
So when you come here, you have to also sell it at a little bit high. Despite all those things, they admitted that the excess money they printed during the COVID to support governments and all those kind of things is one of the major cause of the inflation that we face. We face it, I mean, it went as far as 50-something%, 52 thereabout, which is one of the highest we've seen in some 2 decades. So 2 decades plus. So it's a real thing that the central bank must always manage. I mean, the quantity of currency they print. So when you check, always parliaments which grant approval for the central bank to print money, that's why those checks are exercised. Because in parliament, there are finance guys, there are economics, there are business guys, and all those people in there who can also know and, I mean, be able to apply the tools of economics, finance, and, I mean, other management skills to be able to approve the quantity of money that the central bank needs to. And you see that it was alleged that, I mean, some of the monies were printed without approval, and it became a whole lot of conversations and all that. And people also said, oh, we're in that high time, so the central bank, even if they don't get approval, they were doing it in saving the economy. And all these things are majorly responsible for inflation. You see, another thing is that it is only the central bank and its agencies, I mean the banks under it, I mean independent, people's private banks and all. Central bank is in charge of the monetary system of the country. So the central bank is also able to manage this inflation, which is usually a currency problem, by checking people not to, I mean, do money laundering and all those kind of stuff. Imagine that you are here and imagine that Mr. A lives in his community and he's able to sit behind his computer or any device or any means and rob somebody of his ending in the US or UK or somewhere. Huge sums. And transfer it to himself here in Ghana. You can imagine what will happen. When he gets those money, he will start going to the club. He will start, buying items, buying houses. There will be a lot of money flooded within the economy. Which goes and he will dash some to his aunties, family members, friends, here and there. People will start buying and all that. So the central bank also try to, as much as possible, manage currencies that come into our country, trace if they are genuinely earned and all that, to be able to, hold down this animal called inflation.
Interesting. How does the central bank work with government to influence money supply in the system? How can the two of them work together? Because we're looking at the monetary side. I mean, the fiscal guys, you said we'll get there.
Yes.
How do they come into this inflation equation?
Yeah. So you see, one of the thing is this: the fiscal side, which the executives and the parliament and all that try to exercise check on the central bank. In terms of printing of currencies and all those kind of stuff, because they have to run through for approval. Here in the case, they work, in coordination. So the central bank also, they do what you call, they have inflation targets that they want to achieve within the period and all that. They inform governments about it. And apart from that, there is communication between them. So they keep, providing warnings of how governments spend and all that. Governments can also cause huge problems in terms of the fiscal side when they overspend. Even though it's good to do projects, it's good to do this, it's good to do that. you do it in moderation so that so much cash don't flow into the economy and create problems.
Okay.
So do your projects, in the right way. Do your projects in a manner that would not lead to excess cash. If you give people inflated contracts with so much difference, the profits are, I don't want to even call it profit, the excess pro bonos dashed to them are really huge. You can imagine what will happen. If they give you a contract of 1 million, and then the job you have to do, the value of the job itself is 200,000. I'm not saying this is the case, but it's just, a hypothetical scenario. So when this happened, the what is the name? The owner of the company or the one in charge of the contract
go on a spending spree.
Yeah, we go on a spending spree, and it will create a lot of problems for us. So government also has to, take some sort of care and ensure that they spend responsibly to be able to manage the economy properly. The thing is this: sometimes the government overpromise. We'll do this year, we'll do this year, we'll pay this, we'll do that. A lot of things. And now, if government is cash strapped where they don't have the money to do it, they tend to, go through their treasury bill, go through all those things to be able to raise money. If I want to borrow 5,000 cedis from you to invest in my business, and you say the interest rate is 15% on the 5,000 for, say, a year.
Okay.
And government wants to borrow from you, and government's interest rate is 13%. I don't think you give the money to me.
No.
You go and give it to government, because governments don't die. And if government owes
my money is safer.
Yeah, money is safer. Eventually they will pay. Even if they default more, eventually they will pay. But what I say, my business has collapsed. You now have to come and do litigation with me in court, spending, paying lawyers around, doing so many things. So even if you take the risk of giving me the money, you tell me that the interest rate is 25%.
Yeah, I want to put a bigger distance between you and government zone. To cater for the risk of giving it to you.
Good. So government itself can cause the interest rate to go up if they are borrowing
by coming into the market to borrow.
Yes, by borrowing so much on the market. So if you don't have the money, you are not saying don't raise money from the market, but do it with care, proper estimations and all that, so that you also don't create problems.
Interesting. Jimmy, you are saying that too much money in the system is bad.
Yes.
Somebody hasn't got money this morning, and you are saying too much money in the system is bad.
You see, when we are talking about, we are not just saying don't have money in your pocket. Not having money in your pocket is bad. It has a lot of problems, implication on you, your consumption of basic needs, your dignity as a person and all that. But you see, the reason why we are saying that excess money in the economy, it means money that people didn't work for.
That's a big difference.
Money that people didn't work for. You are there, the central bank has printed money and is sharing for people. You are there, government has given some highly inflated contract, and your productivity doesn't commensurate the money you are having. The reason is this. I told you that the quantity of money in the economy should largely be matching
the goods and services. Exactly.
And the goods and services come from productivity. So we don't want you to have just free money like that, but you must work for the money, so that when you work for it and the money is given to you, you also try to help increase the goods and services in the economy.
Okay.
So then there will be a match. But going on a free spree of giving people money, no.
Okay, his name is Jimmy Mausi Adangbe. He's with AHER, right? AHER.
Yes.
The
African Hub for Economic Research.
exactly, the Africa Hub for Economic Research. He's their lead there, the research lead, and we're talking inflation and all, like I like to put in quotes, all the boring stuff. We bring it to life right here on Business Breakfast on Z, right here on Z 101.9 FM. What role do central banks play in managing inflation? Commercial banks.
Well, commercial banks, I mean, they all basically work with the central bank, which is the Bank of Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
Bank of Ghana supervise their operations.
Mm-hmm.
They tend to be intermediaries that we go to deposit our money, because we can't all go to central bank. Central bank doesn't want
all of us going there.
So there are several banks, SMEs, this loan schemes,
exactly.
and all around. I mean, if the central bank wants to issue treasury bill to be able to mop up money,
it will use them.
It's going to use them as a channel to be able to pull the money out of the economy. Sometimes the central bank, if commercial banks are suffering, they don't have cash or something, they have some monies with the central bank, which some are reserves and other things they can fall on. They also trade with the central bank as well. Get cash from them to be able to stop. So in the same vein, if the central bank thinks there is so much money in the economy, he can buy some of the monies with the other the commercial banks and others through various instruments.
Okay.
So have open market operation, all those things to be able to mop up some money, so that they will not have so much money to be given out.
You touch on the reserves. How do they use the reserves to manage inflation?
Yes, so the reserve is actually not to manage inflation, but to cater for bank failures.
Exactly. So, for every CD that you send to the bank, they are supposed to leave some pesos.
Good.
Exactly.
Good. That's the basic idea of the reserve.
Okay.
But if the bank is,
can the central bank increase your reserve requirement so that you have less money to give out?
No, that's going to create a lot of problems, because you see, the system works in such
reserves are fixed for what? How many? Can they change at the next MPC meeting?
They can change. They can change. There are internal procedures they use to arrive at that. They can reach and say, we want to increase the reserve margin or whatever. But it all depends, as I would say, because when you impose so much reserve, the commercial banks, savings and loan, what have you, will struggle to operate.
Okay.
Because they have to get the money from those who have excess cash and link it to those who need cash.
Okay.
So if they take it and all they will do is to come and put it in reserve, then their purpose would not.
Yeah. But I think what BOG did this year was to stratify, if I could use that word, put in tiers the reserves. Like, so if your debt to something ratio is this, then your reserve is that. If yours is worse than this person, your reserve is more, or something like
so
that.
So they have, that's why I said they have various instruments, they have various modalities to be able to reach that conclusion. There are so many ratios. The people are calculating what is the name? Your current liability over asset to be able to get some ratios. They are calculating your profitability index. So many things are happening. So all these calculations tend to lead them to know what to really do.
Okay. Talking of inflation and investments, I think that was what the whole discussion was supposed to be about. What are the investment options that are available to the average Ghanaian? And how then, what are the ways in that space for inflation to be managed?
Okay, so when inflation tends to, I mean, it tends to be high.
Okay.
Well, you have to think smart and be able to put your money somewhere that the purchasing power would not be eroded.
Somewhere like where?
So, I mean, arguably,
At the risk of giving consulting advice for free, I mean,
oh, don't worry. These are not big issues at all. So it depends on the quantity of money you have as of then. But people try to invest in real estate. They try to buy houses. People try to set up.
What about gold? Is it a good place to put money to?
Oh yeah, people
to against inflation.
I mean, gold is a preserve of value. So the value of gold keep increasing and all that. Usually, even though price of gold can also fluctuate,
okay,
but it's not as risky as, I mean, it's search up. Prices always search up unless there's a serious problem at the global markets and the prices may drop small. People, you can put your money. I mean, these are very interesting phenomena. Somebody said when the debt exchange came, they had an opportunity to either go for your money with a certain haircut or reduction or whatever. He went into it, took the money. He had what's the name? A garage somewhere in one of his old house. He took the money, bought some plenty iron rods and kept it there. After some months or so many months, now he decided to sell the iron rods. And the prices the price of
iron rods prices has always going up.
So it has gone up.
Oh, so he made money.
And then he made money that was able to recover
from the haircut.
Yeah, the haircut. So, managing these things are a bit difficult. But, it's just that we are living in a very unstable environment. Some will say buy land, the value of land doesn't really
go down.
Yeah, so far as the place is becoming a good community with water supply.
Yeah, that's good advice.
You can sell it. But the risk is you go and buy a land from a certain family. Then you end up knowing that the land is not for the family. It's a stool land.
It's a risk you must take. In Accra, you must take that risk.
Well, so you see, in Accra, lands are owned by stools.
Yeah, families.
Some are owned by families.
Mm-hmm.
Some are owned by clans. Some are owned. Use a whole lot of things.
So you should know.
If you want to prevent yourself against inflation because you are going to buy land, wait, and if the place become a very nice place, you eventually sell it out because you don't have plans of living there. And you have to also go and pay consultancy fee. You have to go and see a land lawyer for the lawyer to be able to investigate the valid owner of the land, and so that you don't go and buy and come and face any trouble. So you have to go for consultancy. Maybe you can pass by some law firm and then pay them for them to do the work for you. And it's an interesting thing. So assets, buying things. Here in Ghana, I don't know whether I use TVs and laptops.
Second-hand.
No, maybe you buy an Apple laptop. I don't know if you can resell it at a higher value because dollar has... I don't know.
The problem with gadgets is the fact that the prices would come down because new models keep coming up.
Good.
Exactly. 10 minutes to the top of the hour. It's that kind of conversation. His name is Jimmy Mausi Adangwe. And we're talking inflation and all of its effects. The stock exchange. The average Ghanaian buys and holds for life. Is that also a good strategy to hedge against inflation?
I mean, those RNS of derivatives.
Okay.
So, it's buying stock means that you have become a part owner of the company.
Mm-hmm.
So you have right to participate in decision making when stockholders meet to be able to advance the company. You only get benefits if the company has made profit, and eventually you would have to pay off bondholders. You would have to pay off other creditors and all that. Then what have you is left will be shared for you and other shareholders, which we call dividend.
Mm-hmm.
So you get some dividend out of it. Well, nowadays, so many strange things can happen. So first, stocks seem to be
very stable.
Stable. Profits are coming, dividends are being shared, and all those kind of stuff. But if it doesn't happen and they break even, you keep moving. I mean, people can choose to also buy bond. Bond are debt instruments, so you don't become
a part owner
of the company. You can't go there and say, do it like this and do it like that. They will
You-
pay you your interest as it is due you. When the company collapse and they liquidate the company's assets, they sell or their equipment, whatever they have, they will pay you first and pay other debtors and creditors before they will come to you, the stockholder. If there's nothing is left to give you, we'll say bye to you.
Jimmy, did the DDP really rock investments in this country, especially long-term investment? Did it so affect it that it would take some years before long-term investments in this country recovers?
Yes, it had a very powerful impact on, in the arena of investment. I mean, it's not something that I would want to say that it's an exaggeration. If you critically look at it and you saw how investors were behaving, it was so serious. And you could imagine how hard those stuff hits them.
Yeah.
It touched them to the core. I mean, the venerable Senor Hussein in our community, well-respected business guy, understands that. Hardly talk about investment and its issues and all that. But when he was hard hit, what's the name? He was hard hit. You saw him on Joy, all those places. They try to form coalitions, associations. That should tell you the magnitude at which it hit them. And these kind of things, I mean, it lives in the memory of people. For example, your father says he can't pay your flight ticket to school somewhere, or he can't pay your school fees, or you had to change your school from one of the best international schools to a lower, school, quote unquote. And all because he invested and the debt exchange had to, impart him that way. As a child growing up, you also be afraid of investment. And these are conversations that happen home. Some parents may take it and may not want to really save for their children.
I would discuss it with my children if I were in that position.
Good. So, it's something. If children become scared as they are growing, when people hear that, oh, put your money in bonds, buy this stock, they are afraid of the market.
It's true.
So it's something that is going to live with us for a very long while before it will fade away from the memory of those who experience it, including their children, family members. There was a very interesting story where a guy had invested against the child going to medical school in tech.
Oh, child.
The guy and the wife, they've been investing, keeping the money in order. And the child eventually had the medical school. They had to pay the school fee, and they say debt exchange.
DDP has cut them. Haircut.
Yeah. So I mean, you see, that child would not forget that event so easily, and it's going to live within this. Oh, buy stock. Oh, do this. Hey, that thing that my father did some time back, and it landed him in trouble.
Yeah.
No.
Jimmy, last thing. We just have a few more minutes. Yeah. What is the best strategy for long-term wealth preservation in this country?
Well, if you talk about wealth, I mean, wealth is a very broad thing, and its definition has become partially debatable in academia. Some say it includes your assets, including the money you have today, and all those kind of stuff. So if you want to, shade yourself against inflation, being able to preserve your wealth, the very first thing is that you must diversify your portfolio.
Fantastic.
So
don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Sometimes people pretend, I don't want to say they pretend, but people naively tend to say they've diversified their portfolios. But in real sense, they've not diversified. Putting your money in different products and things does not directly imply diversification of your portfolio. I would explain further. If you go and you take your money, you put your money in Google, and you buy stocks, you do whatever in Google, and you take money again, you buy a stock in Apple, you take money again, you buy stock in Samsung, then you move from there, you go and buy shares in WhatsApp, or you go and buy share in Twitter. All these things, they are interlinked.
Okay.
So imagine Google has a problem. Samsung will not function if they are relying on Google's engine to be able to operate.
Okay.
The same way, if Apple is relying on Google's engine to operate, they will not function. WhatsApp, if it needs Google to be able to operate, it won't function. So you are going to lose all the returns, though you feel you have diversified. Or imagine that you record the day the internet shut down. You record the internet.
I remember in this country.
Good. Google investors will be suffering. Those who are investing in Samsung, demands for phones, Apple, it will go down. Those who have invested in WhatsApp won't be operating. So
proper diversification for you, that is the way to go.
Yes, diversify properly.
Diversify properly. That's what he said.
Don't go into the corner of just spreading your investment around, thinking you have diversified. You can do that and it will be connected. So, you can do something in a hotel industry as investment. It has nothing to do with gold investment. You can invest there. It has nothing. So spread it around, things that are not really interconnected.
Thank you very much, Jimmy, for coming through. We just have a few seconds left. It is coming up at 10 a.m. is NYA, the brand with the brighter side. It's been one